Sweeney Sunday Sessions, the final hour of the programme every week here on BBC Radio Manchester. If you're a musician and you get in touch with us, we'll give you the chance then to be on the programme to play your song and a cover version. So joining me now, Stephen Stuart Murray from Fast Cars, and if that song sounds so 1979, I would imagine that is very, very deliberate indeed. Stuart, Steve, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That is so much, I take it that is the whole thing was to get that to sound just as if it was 1979.
Well, it was recorded back then. It was recorded in September 1980. Those were songs of that. There's a little mini album of 6 tracks, which features 6 songs that were recorded for Polydor. We'd hopefully was to get a deal with Polydor. We didn't quite get there, but that's why it sounds like 79, 80, because that's exactly when it is. Yeah.
And I wondered about that, but I thought, I've never heard the song before, but of course, if it's never been released, that's why I've never heard him. Steve, you and I and Stuart, we go back a long way. We go back to 1978, but rather than me ramble on about how we met and how the band got together, you tell us, both of you, Steve and Stuart, about Fast Cars, where you came from and how you started.
Well, it's Steve speaking. I always wanted to get involved in the punk scene from the very second I heard Anarchy in the UK in December 1976 on Piccadilly Radio. And I was dead keen to get into the scene, but couldn't get a band together. I joined a band with Mark Ratcliffe, eventually called the Sirens, and we had one gig and I was writing songs with them and starting to develop. That fell apart when they joined the Fall. And then I reverted back to Stuart and the band I was with at school. And that's how we put Fast Cars together. We had the songs already, probably late 77, and by early 78, we called ourselves the Jets, believe it or not. And we started rehearsing at TJM. We talked about it the other week when we were at the book launch. So that's how it all began. And then we heard you guys down the road call the Jets also, Salford Jets. So we changed our name to Fast Cars, and yeah, the rest is history, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we first met you watching you at the Duke of Wellington. We used to come in on a Monday night, and we got talking to you usually after the show. I used to talk to Rod because he'd bought a Gordon Smith guitar, and ended up ordering a Gordon Smith myself. And so it was Rod Gerrard from Salford Jets who introduced us to the guitars that we ended up using for the rest of our career.
Rod lives in the States now. And I remember you guys starting to do the Duke of Wellington. For those that don't know, the Duke of Wellington, it's now a church. It was a pub on the top road in Swinton. But by the time we finished there, and we finished about 82, it had become my and the Salford Jets cavern. And your cavern, you know what I mean? It was our venue for local bands. But just very quickly, and I'll get back to you in a second, Steve. we were going to be called either the Sharks or the Jets. You know, the two gangs from West Side Story?
Yeah.
And we actually tossed a coin and it came down as Jets. And it was Dickon, my bass player, who suggested that we put Salford in the name first. So you two, what are your interests, musical interests and influences for Fast Cars? But maybe prior to punk, where were you both at?
Go on, Stuart, go first.
I was more into heavier rock music. My favourite bands at the time were like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. So we're driven by wanting to play that kind of style. The same as our lead guitarist, Craig. He was more of a rock guitarist. But Steve was more into Bowie.
Yeah, very much David Bowie, T-Rex, Slade, all that kind of thing for me, really. You know, just lots of images, lots of showmanship, great songs. That's what I was always about, you know, and... it just went a little bit. I think once you got to like 75, it started to fade away a little bit. There wasn't anything to latch onto until punk came along in '76, and that's when we moved on to become what we did. You know, and that was always a major influence. And then throughout the punk thing, it was the Jam and the Clash. Probably the Jam more than anybody were our biggest influence on the sound that we had over the next sort of 2 or 3 years that we were together.
I was 30 when I met you. My biog said I was 22. How old were you two in 1978?
I turned 18, but when I first met you, I was probably 17, and turned 18 in the May. So
I was 20 in '78.
Wow. Yeah. It was an amazing time. Look, guys, I'll be back with you in a few more minutes, and we'll find out, what the cover version is, but also I've got to tell you, Stuart and Steve, one of their tracks from the band from Fast Cars was called The Kids Wanna Dance, and it's become a sort of an underground worldwide favourite, really popular with kids in Japan still, and we'll talk about that. Stephen Stuart Murray from Fast Cars are my guest today on the Sweeney Sunday Sessions, and if you want to be on BBC Radio Manchester with me on a Sunday, all you've got to do is email me, mike.sweeney@bbc.co.uk. I'll email you back, and then I'll give you details how you send me one of your songs and a cover version, and we will have you on this radio station on a Sunday between 1 and 2. Don't just help yourself. Stephen Stuart Murray from Fast Cars are my guests, and as I say, I do know the lads, but get in touch with me. In fact, the lads got in touch and said, look, are we okay to contact you? I said, of course you are. You know, if I've known you, we've bumped into one another, that's going to happen in rock and roll. On the other hand, if I've never, ever met you, you still get in touch. So we've been right through the spectrum at loads of different age gaps, but we've had a 17-year-old, Seb, kicked us off, recorded the stuff at home on his phone. If you record the stuff like that, as long as it's of good quality, that would be brilliant. But if you've done it in studio, like Steve and Stuart Murray, who are with me today from Fast Cars, that's okay as well. And the lads are back with me now. Steve, Stuart, I've just had JB Barrington, the poet, has been in touch with me, and he said, I'm sure these supported the Jam at the Apollo, did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
1st of November 1980, and that song you've just played, we would have played that night.
Wow. Tell us about the gig.
Well, it came about. We were, as I mentioned before, we were pretty close to signing with Polydor, and I was very friendly with the A&R guy for the Jam, a guy called Dennis Munday, and he must have passed all the tapes on to Paul Weller, and then one afternoon in the summer of 1980, I get a phone call off some Cockney fella asking if we want to play a gig with him, and it was Paul Weller from the Jam who actually personally invited us to play at the Apollo, and he was picking up a local band at each of his dates. So it was by personal invitation we joined the Jam at the Apollo in November 1980, and what a fantastic experience to play on that stage. I'd seen everybody play there, you know, from the Clash, Ramones, the Jam several times, and then to be on that hallowed stage was amazing.
What was it like, Stuart?
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I remember Paul Weller stood at the side of me and was the first person to congratulate us as we came off stage. But the story behind this mini album that we've put out, we're friends with Dennis Munday still via Facebook, and I didn't have a date for when we actually recorded back in 1980, so I contacted him. Not only did he give us the date, he told us that the tapes was in some kind of a vault in London, So I contacted the person that's been putting out albums for us for the last few years at Detour Records. He managed to track down the tapes. It took about 12 months, but it's finally come out as a mini album. So it's 6 tracks on a 12-inch vinyl.
What's it called?
It's called...
Once again,
I'm lost for words, and I just was there.
Can I just, if we can, before I play your cover version, The Kids Wanna Dance is, what for me, my humble opinion, it's one of the great songs of that 1976, 1980 period. And it didn't make the charts at the time, but has since gone on to be, in a way, far more successful, say, over the last 2 or 3 decades than it ever was during its period of release. What do you think the magic is about that?
I think it just connects because kids do want to dance on it, and when we've played it, we get the same reaction now as we did back then, and it's just about the great times we had. We talked about the Duke of Wellington, the Top Road, and we played just down the road regularly at the Butcher's Arms, and it was just about kids having fun. It's just exactly about those moments we've already talked about, and I think somehow we captured it, and people recognise that and associate with it. So yeah, dead proud of it.
We've been very lucky and been invited to Japan on 2 occasions, and every time, most of the kids could not speak English, but they could sing. The kids just want to dance. And I've got a couple of good videos on YouTube of them just singing along with us. In fact, on that album that we've done, we put a 2008 version live from Japan of The Kids Just Want to Dance. And Steve stopped singing, and a young girl had got up on stage, and she sang the chorus, and the audience was singing along with her. And Steve was just stood there waving his arms about and clapping.
And when I said kids, these are young people. How surreal is that? So you're in Japan and you're all older now than you were, and you're certainly not teenagers anymore, but your audience, a lot of them are really young.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. They were 20s, perhaps 30-year-olds, but a lot younger than us. And they knew everything about us, which is absolutely amazing.
Even things we'd forgot because we were old.
Steve and Stuart, may you continue to be Fast Cars. I hope you'll be gigging again now we're all trying to get back at work.
Yeah, we're planning to play next February. We had our first rehearsal, as you know, we sadly lost Craig in January. But we had our first rehearsal. His brother wanted to stand in, which was a great idea. And we had our first rehearsal last week, and it felt right. He's not the player Craig was, nobody will be. But the most important thing for me was it felt right, and it did feel right. You know, we've kept it in the family, and we're excited to be playing hopefully next year.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again next year. So the most unexpected cover version from a punk band, it really is incredible. Tell us about the cover version.
Okay, well, it's inspired by the Jam. We were big fans of the Jam. They did Heatwave. I don't know if you remember hearing.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
they did a fantastic job of that, and I thought I want to do something that sounds like that. And I was a big sort of Rod Stewart in the Faces fan, and it was just one of those songs that it's a soul classic. I'd heard Rod do it, and I thought, I'd like to take that on, and we did, and I hopefully we nailed that sound we were looking for, and it was very nearly going to be a single with Polydor. That was going to be their choice of single, but sadly it didn't happen, but it's out there now, and again, it's another song we're very proud of.
Steve and Stuart Murray from Fast Cars, you take care, both of you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Speak soon, mate.
Here are Fast Cars and their version of the Isleys, This Old Heart of Mine. So Fast Cars got in touch with me because their 6-track mini album is actually released. It's songs dating back, as that did, to 77, 78, 79, 1980. Anybody can be on this programme on a Sunday, and if you've just started...